Well, Ohio State beat Penn State again. Number one, Oregon handled its business at the Big House. Indiana's still undefeated. Nebraska's getting beat right now by UCLA as we speak. It was a huge day around the Big Ten. Everything's shaping up here in the month of November. We got you covered. Right now, it is a live version of Locked On Big Ten. Thanks for joining us.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten Live. I'm Craig Shemon, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com and get started. So, Ohio State got another win against Penn State. It's a theme for like over the last decade. Plus, the last of our Week 10 updates and your live comments are welcome here on YouTube. We'll get to those in a moment. This show is all about immediate reaction here on Saturday night going into Sunday morning. And before we leave, we'll have the nation's first look at Week 11 around the Big Ten. But let's start you off here with the earlier game today. Ohio State going into Penn State, 111,000 people there ready to go. Ohio State wins the game 20-13. And I got to say right off the top, Ohio State's patched up offensive line that has received a lot of criticism and has undergone some injuries. They were great today. That was one of the stories of the day. Ohio State and his offensive line, tough, doing a really good job against Penn State. Will Howard, who is from Penn State, or actually from Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because Penn State told him back in the day he wasn't good enough to recruit, and that's when he ended up going to Kansas State before transferring to Ohio State. He threw 2 touchdown passes, and the Buckeyes had a great defensive stand on a 4th and goal to stop Penn State, regained the ball at the 1-yard line, and then they just kept running the ball. Remember, that running game was criticized last week against Nebraska, and they were able to just run out the clock and win the game. Pretty impressive. It is the 8th straight time that Ohio State has beat Penn State. It wasn't an easy start, though. Howard threw a pick 6 early on in his first pass, and the fans there weren't too happy. The Ohio State fans way up in the corner were not too happy. The other 110,000 fans for Penn State were just screaming. The place was shaking. They were feeling good. Howard also looked like he was scoring a touchdown there in the second quarter. And before he crossed the goal line, the ball was punched out. It went out of bounds. That's a touchback. Instead of a touchdown, it's a touchback. It's Penn State's ball. So things are looking really good for Penn State at this point of the game. That was huge. But I thought the biggest play of the game was the final 11 seconds in the first half. It's 1st and goal, Penn State from the 3-yard line. Looks like they're going to try and punch it in. And instead, David Igbenogson ended up, I don't know how he did it, stole the interception on a possible touchdown pass to Harrison Walsh III. It was one of the greatest defensive plays of the day. And the Buckeyes get the Buckeyes get the interception on the play, and Penn State doesn't get any points out of the deal. That was the pivotal point of the game. The Buckeyes defense also did a great job containing Penn State's all-everything tight end Tyler Warren on the day. He had 4 catches for 47 yards. He ran the ball 3 times for 47 yards, and that was about it. Side note, though, good news for Penn State moving forward. Drew Aller injured his knee in the first half of the Wisconsin game, didn't come back for the second half. It was a game-time decision for him, and he started. And he looked pretty mobile. He was able to run away a couple of plays there. In fact, he ended up taking the brace off of his leg at one point. He only completed 12 of 20 passes for 146 yards, had an interception. He did run 10 times for 31 yards. So he looked like he's going to be okay. Quinshon Judkins for Ohio State ran 14 times for 95 yards. Travion Henderson ran 10 times for 54 yards. So the Buckeyes' run game was much stronger and much more effective with their timely runs than they were last week against Nebraska. It was a point of concern. Looks like they fixed it. Both teams now sit at 7-1. Ohio State is back in the Big Ten chase. James Franklin is now 1-15 against top 5 teams, but all's not lost here. Both of these teams should still make the college football playoffs. The AP Top 25 poll comes out tomorrow. Ohio State should move up at least one spot to number 3. Penn State will fall out of their number 3 spot, but they won't fall that far because it's Ohio State. But the first of the weekly college football polls, the playoff polls, comes out on Tuesday, and then they'll do it every week from that point on. And again, both of these teams should be favorably ranked with this situation. So Buckeye fans and also Penn State fans, let's hear it. I know there's going to be a lot of complaints about James Franklin and the Buckeye fans. That was a big win today. Also, just wrapping up a few moments ago, speaking of wrapping up, UCLA is going to get a 27-20 win over Nebraska at Nebraska. That's big for them. That's bad for Nebraska. Was that 3 losses in a row? They're trying to get that 6th win to become bowl eligible. More on them in a moment. Number 1 Oregon goes into Michigan and has their way with them. 38-17 was the final score. By the way, Oregon fans, I love the silver chrome helmets and the white uniforms. I thought it looked sharp today. What'd you think? Hit me up on the comments there. Anyway, they win 38-17. Oregon scored first, 12-play, 63-yard drive. Dylan Gabriel to Evan Stewart, a 2-yard touchdown. But look, man, he dropped that pass. The official was looking right at it. Replay. They credited him a touchdown. Look, I don't know if it affected the overall outcome of the game, but you can't make mistakes like that officiating. That was brutal. Oregon then fumbled a punt. Michigan puts a drive together. 5 plays, 28 yards. Davis Warren hits Tyler Morse on a 7-yard touchdown to tie the game at 7. We're about 1:31 to go in the quarter. All right, Michigan's feeling pretty good about things. Maybe that first drop touchdown would have made a factor at this point. Michigan would have had a lot of momentum for sure early on. But Oregon went back on top. Noah Whittington capped off a 6-play, 75-yard drive with a 1-yard touchdown. Oregon's up 14-7. Early in the second quarter, we moved to late in the second quarter. Dylan Gabriel doing Dylan Gabriel things, finds Trayshawn Holden for 38 yards. Then Noah Whittington punches it in for a 6-yard touchdown. It was a 10-play, 94-yard drive. And at that point, I'm thinking Oregon is doing what Michigan used to do last year with drives like that. It was really a good drive. Oregon's up 21-7 at that point. Michigan gets a field goal late in the half to draw to 21-10. I'm thinking, all right, is that the halftime score? No. Oregon engineers a beautiful, quick 80-yard drive capped off by Dylan Gabriel's 23-yard run to put Oregon up 28-10 at the half. Much different ball game at that point. Now, Michigan started the second half pretty good. Davis Warren found Peyton O'Leary for a 6-yard touchdown, 10-play drive, 75 yards. Great. Classic Michigan back in the day. Seeing if they can get something going here. Late in the third, Oregon scores a field goal to make it 31-17. And at the end of the game, Jordan James, late touchdown, 117 yards on the day, 90-yard drive, 38-17. You know, they kind of mentioned at the end of the broadcast, maybe they should have taken a knee or what. I don't think so. I mean, they were just running balls up the middle, and it wasn't anything fancy. Michigan didn't stop them. Plus, one of the tiebreakers later on is point differential. I have no problem whatsoever with Oregon scoring that late touchdown for the 38-17 margin of victory. It is Michigan's first conference loss at home since Penn State in 2020. All right, those were a couple of the big games today. A couple more we got to get to here. Well, we're going to get to all of them. That's what we do. A couple of reminders. If you're new, catching us live here over the weekend, a couple of things. You know, we have a website. You see the scroll on the bottom, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. We go live on the weekends, but we have regular podcasts Monday through Friday. All the Big Ten teams right here. We're your source. We put them there chronologically, and we group them by team as well, so they're easy to find your favorite team. And we also provide for you a link if you want to go ahead and buy some merchandise, some shirts, some hats, some pennants, some T-shirts from your favorite school. We're inside 60 days of Christmas shopping left. Go get some gifts for your friends right there while you're watching podcasts about your favorite team right there at talkbig10.com. All right, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We get tons of subscribers. We're always grateful for that every single day. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Doesn't ever cost you anything. And then we're on the same page with Big Ten news each and every day. And you'll get the latest podcast as soon as it's available each and every day right here on Locked On Big Ten. In the meantime, we got some stuff to cover here. We'll get to your comments because I see a lot of live comments there. We'll get to all of those. And also, Indiana trailed for the first time all season. Rough start at Michigan State. What would happen? We'll cover every team, every day, rest of the Big Ten right here. And also, we'll have the nation's first look at Week 11 coming up. It's all right here on a live version of Locked On Big Ten. Our friends at 5 Hour Energy have something awesome for you. They know you're passionate about the football, and a full day of football, it can be exhausting. You need a little bit of energy. 5 Hour Energy, where it'll be the tailgates, watching, cheering. They have Stand the Fan. That is a new 5 Hour Energy shot. It's a special flavor called Fan Fuel, and the energy shot made just for super fans like us. So you can check that out. They see you. If you're one of those fans that's sitting in the parking lot all day, crack of dawn, last one to leave, that's you. This is for you. You can check that out. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart and soul and a whole lot of energy, whether you're prepping for that big tailgate or maybe ironing your jersey to look good. Your to-do list is pretty long on game day. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What is your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Well, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers. I know a lot of people are catching us live for the first time here on the weekend. We always appreciate that. We're here every day. You everydayers that make this go. Thank you. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10.com. Let's talk about the Indiana Hoosiers, ranked 13th in the country. They go into Michigan State for the old brass spittoon. Curtis Rourke coming back with the glove on the thumb with 2 screws in the thumb. He had it like a week and a half ago with the surgery, missed last week, back into the lineup. And all of a sudden, Michigan State comes out and they kick a field goal. Guess what? That's the first time Indiana has trailed all season long. Jonathan Kim, the 47-yard field goal. And then Michigan State comes back and puts together a 13-play drive with Aiden Childs looking pretty good. Finds Nick Marsh. This kid's good. We've talked about him a lot. He's a freshman wide receiver. He's been a Big Ten Freshman of the Week 2 times already this year. Fantastic catch with the toe down on the side of the end zone. And all of a sudden, late in the first quarter, Michigan State's up 10-0. Indiana, who has never trailed, is down by 10 points. Unbelievable. By the way, I'm not sure why Indiana wasted a timeout and challenged that play. I thought that was good to go all the way, and it was. That's when the Hoosiers woke up. 7-play, 75-yard drive. Curtis Rourke, 4 for 4 on the drive for 53 yards, threw a 17-yard touchdown pass to Zach Horton. So now Indiana's within 3, 10-7, early in the second quarter. Then they kept it going. Tyson Lawton scored his 9th touchdown of the season, and it was a 1-yard run. 6:22 to go in the second quarter. Indiana takes its first lead of the game. Miles Price set it up with a big, nice 25-yard run on the drive. Set up a 1st and goal. They score. So quick math. My math's never right. So there was a 12-minute and 45-second period of which Indiana did not lead, was trailing. First time all year. But they got the lead back and never looked back. Just unanswered score after score after score. 4:55 to go. Amari Farrell got a 2nd interception of the game. Diving one. It was beautiful for Indiana. That's 2 weeks in a row that they've had a player on the defense get 2 interceptions in a game. And they turned that into a touchdown, up 21-10. 21 unanswered points as Curtis Rourke finds Elijah Surratt with a 4-yard touchdown. They're on a roll, up 21-10 at the half. They're not giving up this lead. And D'Angelo Pons, who had 2 interceptions last week, he was the one I was referring to, including the pick 6 in the win against Washington, started the second half by blocking a punt, ran in unimpeded, blocked it into the end zone. They get a safety out of the deal. Indiana's up 23-10. Indiana followed the safety on a short field. Curtis Rourke finds Miles Price for an 18-yard touchdown to make it 30-10. At this point, IU's defense had like 9 tackles for loss. Michigan State's averaging like 0.4 yards per rush, less than a half a yard. Tommy Schuster comes in because Aiden Childs got hurt. Mikael Kamara, sack machine, got 2.5 today. I think he's up to 11 for the season. Indiana chips in a late field goal, 33-10, 33 unanswered points at this point. But then after a botched Michigan State punt, Indiana's Omar Cooper scored on a 16-yard end around where he made like 3 cuts and broke 2 tackles, gets into the end zone, and Curtis Rourke then hits Elijah Surratt for a touchdown pass to make it 47-10. 47 unanswered points for the Hoosiers in this game. And as far as Surratt, 2 touchdown catches on the day. So quick recap, Indiana, again, was up 40 to 10 at this point, 40 unanswered points. And then they ended up scoring another one. So 47 unanswered points altogether, at least 14 tackles for loss. The Hoosiers are 9-0 for the first time ever. And it's the 7th time they've scored 40 or more points in a game this year. They're on fire. Going to be real curious to see where they are in Tuesday's college football playoff poll. Some experts have them just outside those top 12 teams because they haven't beaten a ranked team yet, but they're pummeling people. It's going to be interesting. All right, just a moment ago, UCLA went final. Good win for them on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska fan is in panic mode right now because they can't get that 6th win to become bowl eligible. 27-20 was the final score there. UCLA jumped out to a 10-0 lead in this game. And Dante Dowdle got a couple of touchdowns for Nebraska. They were able to get back into the ball game with a couple of touchdowns late 3rd quarter, early 4th quarter. Dylan Raiola had a pick 6 in this game, but he did have a touchdown pass that helped get him back in as they scored 13 unanswered points. But they ended up losing the game 27-20. Minnesota, they're on a roll. 25-17. They beat 24th ranked Illinois at Illinois. 4 wins in a row for PJ Fleck. Darius Taylor, 22 carries, 131 yards. Dragan Kesich kicked 4 field goals of this one. The Gophers had 4 sacks. They didn't have any interceptions today. I mentioned it because they had 15 on the season, but they did have 7 pass breakups. Illinois quarterback Luke Altmaier lost 2 fumbles in the game, including on a late drive. And, Illinois actually took the lead with 9 minutes to go. This loss should drop Illinois out of the top 25. Both teams are 6-3. Northwestern beat Purdue in overtime, 26-20. Joseph Hyman II had a 51-yard touchdown run of the first quarter. He had a 22-yard touchdown reception in overtime for the win. Northwestern's 4-5. Purdue dropped 1-7. They're 0-2 in overtime, and Purdue's got it tough. They needed this win. They didn't get it. They got Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana left on their schedule. It's going to be rough. Meanwhile, that leads us to 2 primetime games getting ready to get going here tonight. We got Wisconsin at Iowa. Iowa, a 3-point favorite. That is the NBC Big Ten Saturday night game. And, the Badgers are coming off that game against the Nittany Lions, in which they played well for a half. Speaking of running games earlier, if you haven't seen Iowa's running back, Caleb Johnson, best running back in the Big Ten right now, he's capable of a 200-yard day. And Brendan Sullivan, the Northwestern transfer, will be starting a quarterback for Kirk Ferentz because Cade McNamara had a concussion last week. I think they were leaning in that direction anyway, if you ask me. So, because they haven't produced much of a passing attack whatsoever. And also on the Big Ten Network at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, USC getting ready to kick off at Washington. These are like the good old Pac-12 after dark days, except now they're Big Ten teams. USC's really struggled to hold leads late on the Big Ten portion of their schedule, but they are coming off a 22-point win over Rutgers. Meanwhile, Washington, they're 2 different teams. They're not very good on the road. They're pretty good at home. We'll see how they do here. They lost last weekend at Indiana. They have a great running back in Jonah Coleman, who's averaging 6.7 yards per game. He should have a good day against the Trojan defense there. All right, let's take a peek at some of your comments, and then we'll get to the nation's first look at Week 11 moving forward as we are going live here on YouTube. Let's see what we got. I'm sure a lot of Duck fans out here. First one on the board from Crypto Compassion. Go Ducks. That was a very sound win today out there. And Booyama 85, undefeated, baby. I'm assuming you're talking about the Ducks and not the Hoosiers on that one because it came in a little bit earlier. Sports BS says the Ducks didn't play that well and still won easily. Mr. Taco Man with Go Ducks. Also, The Rough Daddy texting in, let's go Ducks. Wow. They are impressive. More Ducks. Aiden, very critical of the Michigan coordinators in this game. Worst in the country, he says. D. Davis, best part of the game was the Oregon uniforms. Very cool. I loved them. I'm partial to something with green in it, but the silver chrome with the white looked fantastic. It's very fantastic. Let's see here. Tez and Harper knocked out of that game. I don't have any other information on the injuries at this point since we're live right after the game. That's something we'll keep an eye on moving forward. That was Ram Spencer who is asking the question. He's a regular, by the way. I see your comments all the time on our YouTube thing. Thank you very much. Let's see here. More Oregon Stacker, go Ducks. And here's War Zone Trips. We fought hard and didn't get a lot of breaks, but coaching has to be better. Go Blue. Still fighting the fight for the Michigan Wolverines there. And let's see here. I thought we'd have some more Indiana texts out here, but a lot of Ducks stuff. Let's see what else we have here. Forrest says Michigan changed up their game plan a little bit and thought they had more passing yards. Who thought they would have more passing yards than rushing yards? Well, they had to. They were behind. They had to throw the ball. Oregon Stacker, go Ducks. There we go. Got a couple of IU texts coming in here. Adam checking in. How about IU for Oregon for the Big Ten title game? If it were today, that's what it would be. Indiana and Oregon, both 9-0. They're both 6-0 in the Big Ten. Penn State and Ohio State are 4-1. Game and a half back. Don't forget, Indiana has a huge game against Ohio State in a couple of weeks. They got Michigan next, by the way. So, yes, IU is legit. I got you on that. Keep the text coming in. Live here on our live Locked On Big Ten. Coming up in a minute, we are going to take a look at the nation's first look ahead at Week 11 around the Big Ten. That is coming up next. Stay with us. Live version of Locked On Big Ten late Saturday night into Sunday here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel. Games are fun to watch all by themselves, but with FanDuel, a little something on them, they're even more exciting. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, whether you got a hunch on a game, the stats, the play-by-play, the scores, and your bets all on the same page. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today, and you'll get started with $150 of bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This weekend, Sunday Night Football, the Colts at the Vikings. Joe Flacco's in there. I got a funny feeling about this game. I'm going to take the Colts at +5. Bucks at Chiefs Monday night. I'm going to take the under at 45.5. You can do stuff like that at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. As we roll with our live version of Locked On Big Ten, let's take our nation's first look at Week 11 already with all the excitement. Indiana and Oregon on top of the Big Ten standings. Who would have thought it? So here we go. As we look ahead, we're starting to run out of precious weeks. Things are shaping up. So the week starts Friday with Iowa and UCLA. Iowa getting ready to play as we speak. UCLA coming off a win. That's the 9 p.m. Eastern game on Fox. That's out at the Rose Bowl. Caleb Johnson, the running back for Iowa, looking to have a big day there. Meanwhile, Washington on Saturday is at Penn State. We'll see if Penn State has any kind of hangover from that loss today to Ohio State. And we'll see. And Washington on the road, they struggle. Purdue is at Ohio State. Purdue coming off the overtime loss to Northwestern. Ohio State flying high with the win over Penn State. Should be a blowout. Michigan coming off their loss to Oregon. They hit the road. They go to Bloomington to take on the Hoosiers, who are flying high right now. 7 games where they've scored more than 40 points. I don't know that Michigan has an offense that can keep up with that. So it'll be up to the defense to try and slow them down a little bit. Minnesota, 4 wins in a row at Rutgers. And Maryland is at Oregon. That's a tough trip from Maryland all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast to take on Oregon, which is looking great after their win today at Michigan. Let me hit up a couple more comments if I can real quick. Here's someone saying that Penn State choked today. Lisa checking in says it's not going to be Indiana versus Oregon. It's going to be Oregon versus Ohio State in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship. And here's some more criticism of James Franklin saying that he blew it in this game. Didn't like the play calling, it looks like. So anyway, it's going to be a big week. We'll be right back at it, of course, Monday through Friday, recapping this weekend, moving forward, looking ahead to this upcoming weekend. I appreciate you guys checking us out live. Spread the word. We're here every single day. Many ways for you to interact with this podcast on Twitter at Talk Big Ten, our website, talkbig10.com, and, of course, comments back and forth on YouTube are fantastic when you guys get going at it, especially when the rivals are texting against each other back and forth. Be sure to, be sure to subscribe before you leave here and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Enjoy the Saturday night games, and we'll be right back at it Monday with the latest. So appreciate you checking us out. Can't wait till you talk to us next time, or I talk to you next time. We got a lot of stuff to cover here in the upcoming week. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten Live. Thanks for joining us.